We're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Brenda Masson. We're talking with Laurie and Betty Jane today about the solstice. So back to our solstice discussion. We've talked about the fact that you both have different backgrounds but similar backgrounds. Now, Betty Jane, when you were talking about teaching, you were actually teaching witchcraft.
Yes, witchcraft, not Wicca, witchcraft.
Just witchcraft?
Yeah.
Do you do spells?
Absolutely.
Oh,
we do. I teach that as part of the class. I differentiate because with Wicca you're supposed to be oath bound and you don't share the things you're not supposed to share. So that's why I say it's witchcraft. Yes, I bring gods and goddesses and deity into it, but I don't necessarily hammer that down your throat. So, but yes, spell is just the work. It's part of the craft of being a witch. So absolutely, I teach it.
Is it like the old apothecary? Is it like taking your bowl and smushing up some herbs? And
can be.
Do you boil eye of newt?
Yeah, my mustard seeds get a good workout sometimes. But to be fair, a spell doesn't have to be that. I look at a spell as basically a bit of a prayer. You're kind of asking for a favor. So singing happy birthday, blowing out a candle. You make a wish, you blow out a candle. It's a spell.
Okay, I've never thought of it that way, but you're right.
Yeah.
And it's a spell that's formed in ritual because singing happy birthday and doing the whole birthday party thing is a
and
ritual.
And you have your cake, your celebration.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And at my age, you have a little glass of something.
Right, and the sweet is always a part of it because the sweetness is to have a sweet life, a sweet whatever, wishing you sweetness and joy.
So when I teach spellcraft, that's exactly how I start. Has everybody ever cast a spell? And everybody goes, oh, no. They put your hand on. Has anybody ever sang happy birthday? And they go, oh, yeah. Then you cast a spell. Mm-hmm. You really have, whether or not you think it through that way, but really you have. You're putting you're setting an intention and you're releasing it. That act of blowing out the candles is releasing it to the elements.
Okay.
Yeah. Cooking is spellcraft.
Yes.
Cooking is absolute. Yeah, you're stirring, you're bringing in the energy. I make a solstice shortbread to bring
specifically for solstice. Okay,
absolutely, and it's my old Irish auntie's recipe. So of course, your pure unsalted butter, your wonderful. Anyway, when you get it all together, you don't put it into a cake pan. You put it into your iron griddle, your iron frying pan, right?
Oh.
Which in Ireland, they call it a spider. I don't know why. But anyway, so it's the iron frying pan, pat it all in. It's a circle. It's the circle of the year, right?
I see.
And then you take your fork and make the rays of the sun all around because you're bringing the sun energy back. Then you score it. You cut it and you make your spell. Okay, so you cut it.
Down.
You cut it for the directions, north to south.
Right.
East to west. You cut it again and you bring in your friends. You bring in your family. You bring in your pets. You can do any wish you like. And then you bake it.
Yeah, so before you bake it.
Before you bake it, you're scoring it. When you bring it out, of course, it's puffed a little bit, and so you want to score it again. So you bring in the energies again, and your wishes and your prayers. And then when you serve it to your friends, you know that you are gifting them the new sun of the year and all the wishes that you've given to them.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a whole way of cooking now that they talk about that the energy in the food is as important as the food that you're eating. And if you are having those intentions while you're making that shortbread, isn't that a wonderful thing to do? Wow.
Absolutely.
So every day, you're right. Every day when I'm cooking dinner, I shouldn't be angry about it and saying, oh gosh, everybody's got to be eating or they're all getting hangry and my boys are yelling at me because they're hangry. That I should just put them down and put my good food wishes.
That stirring of the cauldron, right?
Yeah.
I never cook when I'm in a bad mood. I always, either my husband does or we order in. But I never cook in a bad mood. Just don't.
That's good practice. Because you don't want that negative energy going into the food and then you're feeding everybody with that negative energy.
And if I was really irritated with somebody, I might do, add something to it. No, just
I have
You really don't like
back like a squirrel.
No, that's what I give to the dog.
Back leg of a squirrel. They eat that on their own, don't they?
Oh.
Okay, well that's interesting because that's a special solstice thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are some other things that stem from the solstice celebration that we do every year that people may not even realize is solstice? Candles?
Candles, Yule log.
Yule log.
Yule log is a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is a real Yule log? Not the chocolate cake rolled into a log and stuck in a plastic box in Walmart.
Well, my first question is define real. So Yule log is what you make it. So it's the intention that you put into it, right?
Okay.
So traditionally, I guess it would be a piece of cedar, birch, oak, whatever, with a side flattened down. Because I don't have a real fireplace, I would put candles into it and make it very safe. And I would be bringing the light into the house.
Okay.
So that would be my way of doing it. Yours would be similar?
Yeah, if you're going to burn it, you can burn it outside too. If you don't have a fireplace, we've done that. The whole ritual of decorating it and making it beautiful, and then
You're decorating a log?
yeah,
We're talking a hunk of wood here.
yeah.
Okay, so what do we decorate it with?
Oh well, with your greens, of course, and holly if you have it, and just you want to make it beautiful. It's an offering.
Pine cones.
It's
Okay.
an offering.
It's an offering to...
It could be to the gods, it could be to nature, it could be to the turning
universe.
of the wheel of the year.
Mhm.
And then what you're supposed to do is, burn the log on the special day, the longest night of the year. Keep it going as long as possible, and then save some embers to light your fire on the next day, so that you continue that good energy for the next year. Mm-hmm.
So you would want to use a hardwood, something like oak then, that would have some longevity to it.
Yeah.
And burn for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. So the log cake, the Yule cake is...
I suppose you could save some crumbs and eat them at breakfast.
Yeah, but that's kind of based just on the shape of a log, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It is. But if you don't, what I will say is if you don't have anything else, if you're in an apartment that you don't have, where you're not allowed maybe to burn something, that's a great substitute.
You can stick a candle in it.
Absolutely. It's a great substitute.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm hoping for a little higher end.
A little higher end than a chocolate cake.
Yeah. I'd probably make my own at that point.
Okay, but the Christians sing at Christmas time about Yule. Make the Yuletide gay, make the Yule this, that, and the other. They talk about Yule. Is Yule Christmas?
Yule is pre-Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep the Yule in Christmas.
Keep the Yule in Christmas.
But isn't it like anything? When we were talking about churches being built on pagan things, they take the bits out of what we bring to the table, and they take it and put it in their own little corners.
Well, before Christianity was around, everyone was theoretically pagan.
Yes.
Or Christianity, even organized religion, even
Yes.
Judaism. So we're talking,
Disorganized religion.
Right.
Yes.
But people still had their rituals for the seasons because the seasons were dictating what the...
Absolutely. And the whole idea of the sun being reborn, right? So there were ancient religions where their deities were born at this time because they were sun gods. And the sun is always very, very important. Without the sun, where would... Right. Right? So the sun is coming back. The light is coming back. Bring back the light. And so Jesus, when they look at the actual timing of when he, as a prophet, had been born, it would have been the spring, because the shepherds were watching their flocks, because the taxation was happening in Rome that they had to travel to. And so they figured that his actual birthday is in March. But it was put to December because all these other gods were all born at the end of December, because they were sun gods and because the wheel of the year has to turn. So all this celebration, all this crazy, fabulous, getting away from the darkness by having wonderful light celebrations, candles and burnings and the greenery and all that stuff, and feasting and merriment. And did you know that the Christians actually banned Christmas at one point? The Puritans, the Christian Puritans, made Christmas illegal.
Wow.
Because it was debauchery, and it had nothing to do with religion.
or the birth of Christ.
No, at all. Christmas was illegal.
Wow. And then, of course, I guess the people probably brought it back because they wouldn't have stopped.
Yeah,
with
we
the
had some more
celebration.
different immigrants coming from Europe that celebrated Christmas, and it became a thing again. But back in the day,
But there are still certain religions that do not celebrate it because for the same reason. So if you look at people that might show up at your doorstep and talk about their religion, they're not they don't celebrate it. They don't celebrate Christmas, birthdays, any of the other things. And we had a conversation, and they don't do Thanksgiving. I thought, well, do you do Thanksgiving? Because that's not religious. No, they don't. They don't do anything that's sort of celebratory or debauchery or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think some things die hard, don't they? There are certain things you can't take away from people, and they love their celebrations. People love to celebrate. They love to dance. They love to sing. They love things that are green.
Yeah.
Well, on a day when it's really cold and long and miserable in some ways. So they like to be able to celebrate. Okay, I did hear a legend once that the gift giving at Christmas stems from a pagan celebration of sharing your food because, like you said, the days were getting shorter. So people often thought, oh no, the sun is disappearing and it's never coming back. And they would hoard their food. And then, around the beginning of January, when they realized that the sun was indeed coming back, where the days were marginally getting a little bit longer, they could relax and know that there was going to be another planting and another harvest and that they would be okay. And then they would come into the town and bring something to share with everybody. So the guy who made the best carrots would bring his carrots and gift them to you who made the best potatoes, and the person who made the best potatoes would give to the person who made the best squash. And there was this exchange of food and the celebration of the fact that there would be another harvest. And then that gift giving goes into Christmas and what we do today. Because people like it. We like to give to other people. Doesn't it make you feel good to give as well as it does to get something?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm more excited to see somebody open the present that I've given them than I am to open a present myself. I just get such a good buzz out of watching somebody. I'm thinking, they're going to love this.
but when you go out and you choose that present, there's always a story because you see it and you have this sort of ritual that you've done as you purchased the present or made the present. And so when you give it, there's that story, that history that you're reliving too. And then you get to share that story as well.
And it must be a wonderful thing to give because let me tell you, you couldn't pay me to line up in the lineups that there are at Christmas time. Yet I do it willingly, happily. Okay, maybe not happily, but I do it because I want to buy that for somebody. And every year I think, I'm going to start this in October. Actually, I do start my Christmas shopping at the Halliburton Arts and Crafts Show in the summertime.
Yes. I shop thrift. And the amazing things that you find that just call a person to mind. Okay, so I got this ball cap, Dungeons and Dragons on it. Right. I have a friend who plays Dungeons and Dragons, and she doesn't have a ball cap that says Dungeons and Dragons on it. So I've been saving that for months, you know. But you come across these things and you go, oh, that's so perfect for this person. Or they've just had a baby, and his name is this and
Ralph,
and here is a baby outfit and Ralph is on the label or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I find stuff just on my walks. I found a pair of boots in High Park. The brand was Robin. My son's name is Robin. They were his size and they were brand new. I don't know why there were boots in High Park in the snow, but I picked them up and
let's hope you didn't take them from a homeless person.
No, I kind of figured maybe somebody had bought or maybe they had a different pair of shoes and they just left their boots there. They weren't brand new; they had been worn.
Yeah, but they were probably new enough.
They were new enough.
Yeah.
But you know, I do that. I crochet.
Yeah.
And I leave hats and scarves and things with a little tag. If you find it and you would like it, take it.
Yeah.
I always think it's really cool when I walk back and it's gone.
Yes.
And I do that here, and I do that in England when I'm over there. I do it everywhere. It's one of those things. And my friend always says that they're probably at the transit office in the Lost and Found. But
if you have a tag,
if I have a tag, they know it's for somebody else.
I do that with books.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a network of people who do that with books.
Yeah.
That you're not supposed to keep it it has a little stamp in the front, and it shows you who the last person was.
They've got the little tiny libraries in Toronto, but if you don't have that, there are also cafes, or you can leave them on transit.
Yeah, laundromat.
Yeah.
Doctors' offices.
Yeah.
And you never know, it might be the right book for the right person. And
there you go. And again, gifting and continuing the tradition of gifting and giving and sharing and all the rest of it. Because when you gift a book, you are sharing that story, that the way it made you feel with someone else. It's
That's
wonderful.
how I get my umbrellas.
absolutely, umbrellas are movable. They have their own energy.
I just feel like they're short-term rentals.
Yeah,
They are.
absolutely.
Because they never seem to stay in one place for very long. And if they do, then you're not using it.
Yeah.
Yes, because I do have one that's been in my car for years, and I always remember it as I'm walking back to the car in the pouring rain.
Yes.
Anyway, we have to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. This is Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Brenda Masson. We're speaking with Betty Jane and Laurie. We'll be right back.
You have to find joy in life again. Even though you don't want to, you have to.
2 years ago, Kathy Unsworth's 19-year-old son, Chad, was killed by a drunk driver.
The first Christmas, everybody says the first Christmas is the difficult time. Now, Chad was killed in September, so I found that Christmas was very numb. I found this past Christmas was worse because the numbing was gone and he still wasn't here.
Something to think about this holiday season from Mad Canada and this station.
We're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Brenda Masson. This morning we're talking about the solstice and Christmas traditions, and we're talking with Laurie and Betty Jane. So we talked about Yule and the Yule log, which I guess is would that be like a Northern European, Scandinavian tradition, or would it be more like the Irish, British, Celtic kind of thing? Well, actually, the Celtics went way up. Germanic?
I would say Germanic.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
the
that would
Christmas
be-
tree, which is a tree. It didn't need the term Christmas put in front of it until much later than its advent, which was centuries before Christmas. It was a tree, and that has Germanic roots as well. Okay, so the Norse also had a big role in what is now Christmas tradition, predating Christianity. So Odin had goats, we have reindeer, but okay, talk to me about that.
I like reindeer.
I prefer reindeer to goats. Where did the goats come from?
Oh, well,
I don't know.
the goats pulled Odin's sleigh through
Yeah.
the air, but the reindeer, I have an interesting story. I'm a mycologist as well as a herbalist.
What is a
Mycologist is somebody
mycologist?
who studies mushrooms.
Okay.
Okay, and you know those brilliant mushrooms that are red with the white spots on?
Uh-huh.
Very, very big in Siberia, and we have them here too. Most in our area, they're usually yellow with white spots. Around the Great Lakes, you can get the red ones, but they're always in pictures of folklore and things like this. So these are actually magic mushrooms. They contain an aspect that can make you very, very sick, but in so doing, it will also make you very, very high. So the shamans in Siberia would slowly get themselves immune to the toxins, and then the hallucinogenic properties would pass straight through them into their urine and be purified. So they would have a ritual where you would drink the urine and have a magical ceremony. Now, the reindeer in Siberia are immune to the toxins, and they can eat these mushrooms and get totally high, and they tend to leap through the air. True.
I do too.
Eating red and white mushrooms, reindeer leaping through the air. So the reindeer have these two bad habits in Siberia. They will eat mushrooms, and they will also drink each other's urine and leap through the air. Now, Santa wears red and white. Is that a coincidence? That he looks like the mushroom that the reindeer eat to make them leap through the air? Okay.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that a great story?
That is a really good story. And you know what? The best stories are the best stories. So I will remember that from now till whenever. That the reindeer are actually, I leave reindeer food out for Santa sometimes. I'm going to put some more mushrooms in it this year.
Go ahead.
Red and white ones.
Red and white ones, make sure the dogs don't get them.
That would be a whole new myth.
A whole new
legend,
myth. A whole new legend.
There's a whole book written on mushroom lore, and that's in it. So I'm not the only person to have picked this one out of my brain.
Okay, so flying reindeer. Now, would the flying reindeer also have come from the origins of flying goats? I don't understand the flying goat thing at all.
Goats are very, very big in Scandinavian Yule lore. They have little straw goats that they put out.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
We tend to have straw deer, but they have straw goats.
Yeah.
Why?
Goats are very important, and they didn't have too many reindeer in southern. The reindeer are all north. So a lot of these are South Scandinavian lore. I'm not really.
Yeah, my mind is stretching back to the stories and things that I was told as a young girl, but I don't. I'm trying to remember, and I can't. I can go back. I can go like the horned god, goat, and things like that, but I can't recall.
But the straw goats and the.
See, I remember you had to have rice pudding. Like that was a huge thing. You had to have rice pudding.
When? On solstice?
At the holiday season. I'm just going to say the holiday season because my grandmother, when she came over, we did rice pudding on Christmas Eve. She kind of didn't ignore the solstice, but we didn't do a lot with it because narrow-minded people.
Okay.
And so we did rice pudding, and that was important to her traditions. That was one of the things. So rice pudding, if there was a nut in it, which we had to change when I came along because it had to be a Smartie. I'm allergic to nuts, and then you got an extra gift or something. So yes, that was a little thing that we did.
Huh. And it was with rice pudding.
Rice pudding.
And where did they come
porridge.
from?
My grandmother was born in Denmark, so it was a Danish tradition. And there was something that they called rice porridge, and I think it's evolved into rice pudding.
Because rice would have been very special.
Yeah, it was. It was only done. It was only done at the holiday. It's always done at the seasonal time. Also, ginger was very hard to come by, and so ginger in my family was huge. We had gingerbread cookie. You started baking your gingerbread in early December, and it was like your shortbread. It was done for Yule or Christmas. You didn't have it before. It was just that was part of our tradition.
Isn't that funny? And we used to think my dad was just cheap. Well, he was. But we just thought that that's the only reason that he always stuck an orange in the end of our stocking. Well, it turns out that the oranges came from Florida by carts way back in the 1800s. It took days, weeks, for them to come by cart. And to get an orange was just a fabulous, special treat. And some people ate the oranges, but if you got the orange and it was already drying out too much, then they would stick cloves in it and hang it in the living room, and it would become your air freshener for the rest of the winter and things like that, along with the cedar. So oranges were really special. And I didn't find that out until I was at a historical interpretation kind of a thing where they were talking about Christmas traditions. And then I thought, oh, so maybe he wasn't just cheap and loved to stiff the end of our stocking with an orange.
Oranges and nuts.
Yeah. Nuts, yes.
Nuts. I mean, outside of our walnuts that grow here, those special nuts like Brazil nuts and pecans, those were very valuable.
Because they came from southern places.
Yeah.
And they had to travel
Cinnamon. Nutmegs, all those spices.
Cinnamon was very exotic, wasn't it?
And you mentioned the ginger, of course, the gingerbread, ginger.
But naughty kids get onions in their stockings, not oranges.
Onions?
Oh, and cold.
Onions. Well, onions take up a lot of room.
Oh, that's true.
So and they're cheap.
And they're cheap. Yeah, exactly. So if you were a bad kid, you got an onion in your stocking. And it wasn't something I did. I remember one of my kids' friends saying, I got 4 onions in my stocking this year because I was a really bad kid.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to remember that one.
My sister lives in Switzerland, and in Switzerland, Sinterklaas always comes with his counterpart. think his name is Strumpfli or something. He's this big guy
like
who's
the
like
Krampus.
7 feet. Yes, and he's 7 feet tall and he's all dressed in black and has a hood. And he used to spank children that were bad. So my cousin actually was pulled out of class one year and he got a spanking from Strumpfli or whatever his name is. And the other kids were all laughing at him. And he'll never forget that. What a trauma. But in the same sense, it didn't make you be good only because you wouldn't get something. It was that this other guy was going to come and get you, and he's really, really big and nasty and mean.
Well,
Crazy, huh?
The images of the Krampus?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Now, who's Krampus?
He's similar to that. He's
Santa's alter ego?
alter ego.
The anti-Santa Claus.
Anti-Claus.
Anti-Claus, and he has a huge wicker basket, and he has torture implements, and he'll take the children and throw them in his basket and take them away, and and he's become more popular over the years. Now there's quite a few Krampus little toys you can get, and there's parades and people dress up, and it used to be in the Santa Claus parade there might be a Krampus
Somewhere there.
It's
and so where does
Germanic.
he?
Germany.
Germanic?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Boy, Germany has a lot of celebrations,
Yule
don't
is
they?
very Germanic in its origins, so yeah. I think it actually is based in Germanic custom and what have you, so.
A lot of it is, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That and the Roman Saturnalia.
Yeah, exactly.
Saturnalia, and where's he?
Well, Saturnalia was the Roman celebration that became Christmas, and that was just that big whole season of, debauchery.
And isn't that something with Saturn? It's got to do with the way Saturn goes around the sun, and we're at the end of our whatever, like Mercury retrograde, but Saturn retrograde or whatever. It's the end of it.
Okay,
So.
well, that all gets into the zodiac, and we were going to get Jude Kingsmill, but we'll do that for next time. Summer solstice. Maybe it won't be so dark. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion. You're listening to Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Brenda Masson. We're speaking with Laurie and Betty Jane, and we'll be right back right after this.